Howdy, folks. I'm Needy Nitrogen, nostalgically nurturing nascent nettles.
I'm Amber.
And here are more nascent nettles for us to nostalgically nurture. This prompt is a little suspect, Amber. I'm gonna say that much. It's suspect.
Anything we do is a little suspect because we're anthropomorphizing the elements.
Well, yes. Well, maybe. More realism. More realism. Alright, folks, our first letter is titled, Am I a Jerk for Checking My Husband's dash cam footage on his car without his consent? I'm a 34-year-old female, and I live with my husband, a 37-year-old male, and daughter, a 7-year-old female. My daughter and I recently went on a short trip out of state while my husband stayed home as he had to work and was supposed to look after our dog. On the last day of our trip, I got a call from my husband who was acting distraught and said that our dog Ellie had run away and that he could not find her. He claimed she just bolted away from him in the park into some bushes and he could not find her. Our dog is quite small, a mini poodle mix and almost 13 years old. She is active, but is really unlike her to just run away from us, and I was suspicious, but I chose to believe my husband, and me and my daughter were in grief, but we didn't blame him. When we came back home, he seemed surprisingly okay, unlike us. Ever since the pandemic, my husband started working from home, and he has always been annoyed at how much attention we gave Ellie, and hated how Ellie begged to sit on our laps and his while he worked. A few days later, we got a call from an animal rescue in a neighboring state, quite far from us, that she had been found. I picked up the phone, and it was our landline, which is almost never used these days, but was the contact on the microchip. I told my husband, and he said, "That's great, I'm so happy." But I felt kind of blunt and insecure. I said that it was strange that she got so far away, and he responded that someone must have stolen her and then abandoned her. This made little sense to me as to why that would happen. When he was out drinking with his buddies, I copied the video from his dash cam for the days that I was away and saw that he had indeed taken Ellie far out of state and clearly dropped her off in front of his car and thrown a frisbee-like object into a field, yelled fetch, and then drove off without her. I was livid and I confronted him, and he just stupidly muttered how he had dropped her off there so that she could find a farm and have a better life. And then the next day, he got really angry at me for viewing his dash cam and called me and my daughter jerks. All right, folks, what do you think? Jerk or not the jerk?
Not the jerk. Now, I understand being frustrated with an animal, but this is not the way to approach the situation. You don't get to just drop them off in the middle of nowhere and be like, good luck. Like, you don't do that to family.
Yeah, especially not children.
Like,
No, I mean, I was just kidding. What I was going to say for seriousness is this is a pretty terrible thing to have done to a pet. This pet trusted you, it trusted him, and it clearly didn't think anything bad was going to happen.
yeah.
And he probably traumatized the poor dog because the dog goes and runs and fetches the frisbee, and the next thing it knows, they're gone, right? And I can only imagine how bad that poor dog felt. It's sad. It's really sad.
And, like, if he had an issue with the way the dog was behaving, yeah, you probably should have done more to look into behavioral training to train the dog out of the begging behaviors. I understand that. But again, that doesn't give him a blanket excuse to then just go and get rid of the dog.
Yeah.
And, like, you had reason to suspect that he wasn't being honest with you. And so you looked through the dash cam footage. And I think, like, when someone's acting that sus, you know...
Yeah, he was acting suspicious. And the fact of the matter is that this dog was found 2 states away or something like that. And that doesn't just happen over a few day period, right?
Right. And for an elderly dog on top of that too, doesn't make a lot of sense. Like, I can see why his explanation didn't hold any water in to you. And so, yeah, I mean, I think you are justified in looking at the footage because he clearly wasn't telling you the full story.
Yeah. So, let me know what you folks think. Anyhow, take care and good luck. And Deep Manor 4111 says, "Wow, not the jerk. You had a gut feeling and were absolutely right. This is horrible. What your husband did is sick. and cruel. He left an innocent animal to die. Obviously, what you do is up to you now, but if it were me, I would never be able to trust him again. The entire relationship would be ruined. He needs to seek therapy if he is so insecure that he is jealous of a dog. Pathetic excuse for a man.
And I mean, I think this does say an important thing about the relationship. You can't trust him with the dog again, ever.
Yeah, well, the next time you go out, what is he going to do, right? And if he's willing to do this to a living creature, what else is he willing to do, right? This is just behavior that is not the norm for people. And OP replies, "Oh, I will never trust him again, and I'm going to be seeing a lawyer soon. I might have a lot to lose as I earn significantly more than him." I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think a judge hopefully will take this incident into account, that that OP isn't leaving this because they want to, but because he's a dangerous individual.
Right, yeah. If you can present them with the dash cam footage and explain that he literally abandoned your family pet, your elderly family pet, to die, instead of talking things out like a mature human being.
And Aminal1234 says, "May I suggest that if you safely can, you download all of the dashcam footage if there's more?" And OP replies, "Already done this and saved multiple other things from documents, records, etc. and have cloud backups and encrypted drives to stored with friends and my parents." So it sounds like OP is taking this very seriously.
As she should.
Aminal1234 says, "Did you find anything else that will help you? Feel free to ignore that question if you'd like." And OP replies, "Loads." But that is beyond the scope of this discussion. Oh no. Oh no.
Once the divorce is finalized, OP, please tell us all. We need an update.
And Cafe Bastilio says, "The lost money is worth it. This monster left an elderly, innocent animal with no survival instincts in the woods to die of exposure or be eaten. Keep him away from your child at all costs." And OP replies, "I need to consult with a lawyer to know exactly first. Since I bought the house before we married on my name and paid most of it off before we married, I might be safe." And Stormy Cat 55456 says, "You are not the jerk, but I have to wonder, did he do this because he felt unheard by you? I'm not saying that his actions were justified. Your dog was entirely innocent and shouldn't have been left like that. But I wonder if there's more to the story on why he did what he did." And OP replies, "No, he is always doing his own thing and unwilling to do stuff with us when we ask and prefers to be with his buddies. Then he claims that we do not give him time, but acts irritable when we do. It's gotten worse since COVID, so he just seems like a bad all-around guy."
Mm-hmm.
All right, folks, our next letter is titled, "Am I a jerk for telling my sister her wedding is too crazy for me and I will not be going? My older sister is actually married already, married at 18, but she's having her very first wedding since they had a courthouse wedding the first time because her husband was deploying. It's 10 years later, and my sister and her husband decided that they would have a wedding vow renewal and a second wedding. It's a destination wedding at a very fancy luxury hotel for millionaires. To get to the venue, they require you to hire a certain transport because of security reasons. The people attending would be paying close to $40,000 each, and that's assuming that you take a flight home the next day. When I saw the price list, my husband and I almost fainted. She wanted my kids, 4 and 6 months, to be her little page boys. She wanted me to be her bridesmaid and sent me the link to this designer bridesmaid dress that is money. As the family and bridesmaid, I have never agreed to be her bridesmaid. She just ran with it. We would need to fly out with her and her husband 3 days beforehand and do some pre-wedding activities, etc. It was going to cost us over $600,000 for everything. And once we realized that, my husband and I were literally speechless. Kids also don't get a discount. Did I mention that? And you actually have to pay extra for kids my age to get suitable beds. I have no idea where the money is coming from, but this whole thing is just ridiculous. I told my sister that is all too expensive. She offered me $2,000 in assistance and said that she could excuse us for being a day later than the rest of the family. I told my sister that this is way too crazy for us, way too much money, and we would not be going. I also told her that I had never agreed to be her bridesmaid and she needed to accept a no. She freaked out and said that I was rude and that I wasn't even trying to be there for her special day, and it makes me such a jerk. She said that the least I could do is attend. She'll never have kids and she has to watch me be a mom. Am I the jerk for what I said to her? Should I have just said that we couldn't afford it, or am I crazy for thinking that this is crazy? So far, my parents are trying to not go into heart failure. Our grandmother said that she plans to be happily dead. Then she'll be there in spirit. I don't think that anyone on our side is reasonably going to be there. All right, folks, what do you think? Jerk or not the jerk?
Not the jerk. I love the grandma's response to it.
That's just the appropriate answer, I think. The only answer that could possibly make any sense in this situation is we'll be there in spirit because we have all died of heart attacks because of the price tag.
Like, no, you are not obligated to spend heck tons of money so your sister can live out whatever dream fantasy she wants to have.
How much? Is it $600,000? How much is it costing her? Where did they get this kind of money?
OP says that she has no idea and thinks maybe they remortgaged their house.
That is a bad idea. Brian's advice, don't remortgage your house for a wedding. Fun life tips, fun life facts.
Apparently her husband has some family member who's really, really wealthy and well-connected who, got them the venue, but she doesn't think that he's paying for it, so...
Yeah. And $2,000 worth of assistance is
it's a drop in the bucket at that point in time.
A slap in the face. It's like you may as well just said, here are 2 pennies. Yeah. You can have 2 pennies for assistance.
Yeah, I just don't understand why she would think this is remotely reasonable. No one in this scenario is rich.
Yeah, I mean, to go to a place like this, to have a wedding at a place like this, you really need everyone in your immediate circle to be millionaires. And then everyone can go there and enjoy themselves because they have all the money in the world and nothing to spend it on, right? She needs to scale down her idea of what a wedding is going to be if she wants people to attend.
Right, that's the thing, is she can have her dream wedding or she can have family. She can't have both.
Yeah. And I mean, I feel bad that she can't have her dream wedding, but unless she's paying for everyone to be flown out there and to stay, it's just not going to be something that can happen, right? And that's really just a decision she has to make at the end of the day. But I don't blame you, OP, for not wanting to spend $600,000 on a wedding, because unless you are a multi-millionaire, that even if you're a multi-millionaire, that's still a huge chunk of money.
I just can't fathom spending that amount of money on a 3-day experience.
I didn't even know people could spend $600,000 for a 3-day experience. It makes sense. I'm sure there are people who can, but I just didn't even there was never a thought in my mind that was like, hey, $600,000, somebody's spending that for a long weekend.
Right, how is that happening when most of us can't even buy houses?
Yeah. But let me know what you folks think. So anyhow, take care and good luck. Ducky Plant Mom says, not the jerk. I may have gone blind halfway through reading the $40,000, and then I read the total trip would cost you $600,000, or do you mean $60,000? And even then, who needs such a lavish wedding? Does she have that kind of money herself, or are they taking out loans to cover the costs, which they will then be paying off for the rest of their days? Your grandmother's response is classic. Gotta love the grandparents. And OP replies, I meant $600,000 because of all the nights that she would be wanting us there, plus paying for all 4 of us, then beds for the kids. They don't have that kind of money themselves unless maybe remortgaging their house would cover it. He has some wealthy member of his family, but I never thought that they would be that wealthy. Her response made me laugh, and then my husband considered joining her. And Jeepers Creeper 74 says, just curious, what currency is the 600,000? And OP replies, that would be in USD. US dollars, folks, because 99% of the people who stay there are insanely rich Americans. All right, folks, it is tea time. Grab your beverages of choice. I've got some tea right here. Amber, she's got a joke, and it's about insanely rich people.
No, what's black and white and red all over?
I can tell you exactly what's black and white and red all over. It's a insanely rich American dressed in a tuxedo falling down the stairs because they laughed themselves down the stairs after into a pile of money, but they accidentally got a nosebleed when they were doing it.
An embarrassed zebra.
An embarrassed zebra? Well, that too, right? And I have licorice spice. Alright, folks, that's all the time we have for today. Thank you so much for watching. Happy Saturday, spectacular special Saturday. Congratulations, folks. We made it. We're on Saturday. We're on the weekend. I hope it's going well for you. Amber, we need some kind of moral advice and or guidance, and please have it what might be on a ridiculous wedding invite.
You're invited to our wedding. Hopefully you have $600,000 just lying around to spare, because this is my dream, and if you don't fulfill my dream, then you are a bad sister.
Yes, that would be written on every single person's wedding invite. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you all tomorrow.
Bye.